From Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
What's up, guys? Emily Gangan here along with Ellie Parker on November 29th. It's a Wednesday. Ellie, what's going on?
Nothing much.
Anything new since we last talked a couple days ago?
Not too much. Not too much, but we do have plenty to talk about when it comes
to the week in sports that we are currently in. We're going to get started with the biggest story, I would say, of the week. The SEC championship game. We're now, 3 days away? Is that what it is?
3 days.
Thursday, Friday. Yep, 3 days away. And, yesterday we heard from players on UGA's side of things. I was in Athens with them, and it was the last day that players were made available to the media ahead of Saturday's game. And, I do want to say that from the three players that I heard from, Tyke Smith, Javon Bullard, and Milton, Kendall Milton, all three seemed super duper calm, probably because they've done this before quite a few times. Every single one of them has played in an SEC championship game before. So as far as experience is concerned, it's not something we've talked about yet on the show between the two of us, but when it comes to experience, which is weird to say, Georgia has more experience in this game than Alabama.
Yeah, they have more experience certainly winning the game, considering they've won it 2 years in a row. And are definitely poised to take it for a third year. Obviously, Alabama can win this game.
Oh my gosh, yes, they are. And again, we're living in this world now that the underdog in Saturday's game is actually Alabama. And how often
Nick Saban is an underdog.
Yeah, I mean, how often can you say that about Alabama since Saban took over in Tuscaloosa? It just does not happen, right? But here we are, the teacher and the student. And it is true that Saban was Kirby's teacher. And so many coaches have told me off the record how, and I'm comfortable saying this, how Kirby runs the program exactly like Saban runs his. And he stayed there long enough, Kirby did. He stayed long enough in Tuscaloosa to be able to learn from, one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in all of college football. He stayed long enough to be comfortable enough to be able to become a head coach and a very successful head coach.
Yep.
7 national championships under Nick Saban's belt. Kirby right now has 2. Obviously, they want to get to 3. 3 would be absolutely the icing on the cake.
3 would be literally unprecedented. No one has done this in the AP poll era. Multiple teams have come close.
Yep.
No one's ever gotten to 3.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama came close. But yeah, this happened, back in 1930, I think Minnesota did it?
Yep, 1930. The AP poll began in 36. And right off the top, the Minnesota Golden Gophers got 36 and 37, did not win in 38. And no team has ever three-peated. Multiple teams have won 2 in a row. No team's ever three-peated, and these Bulldogs might be the team that could come the closest.
And, I don't think, have we talked about how, this is quite literally almost a fact. If Georgia does not win Saturday, they will not be playing in the college football playoff. Unless complete pandemonium happens Saturday, which it could. But it's crazy to think that a one-loss Georgia team that
might get bounced.
Yeah.
I think there's a scenario where they still make it in, even with a minimal amount of chaos.
Okay.
But
everybody would have to have one loss, right?
Yes.
Basically, Michigan or Washington more than likely.
If Iowa beats Michigan, I will laugh. I will laugh until the
you'll
cows
laugh
come
and
home.
you'll cry.
No, just laugh.
Just laugh.
Because okay. We're gonna get to Michigan, Iowa. We're gonna talk about it later. I'm gonna keep the powder dry on that one.
Okay, I love it. So that's a little teaser there for you. But yeah, so obviously Georgia's defense has to stop Jalen Milroe, which will be the key to the game, and then Carson Beck, who's barely been touched this season, 10 sacks, to me he'll be the key to the game come Saturday. And Ellie, I don't know, how you're feeling about it right now, because on Monday we talked about this, but Are you ready to give me a pick yet? Are you comfortable? You don't have to. I'm asking you. Are you comfortable? You're still thinking about it?
I-
You're letting it marinate a little bit?
I'm going to pick Georgia here.
Are you really?
Yeah.
All right, so Georgia goes on to win the SEC championship in 2023 in Ellie's eyes. You know, Kirby's only won 2 SEC championships. He's won as many.
Only 2.
Well, he's won as many
Please.
conference championships
Amateurs.
as
Come
he's
on.
won national championships. So that's pretty interesting. Listen. Obviously, I covered the Dogs. This is my 7th season covering the Dogs. You know, it's been some really good times covering them. Kirby has just changed the game at his alma mater. But here we go. I finally have it. Because remember, I think we talked about this, but we weren't sure. You said Hugh Freeze was able to beat Saban in back-to-back games, which did happen.
It was.
He was the last one to do it at Ole Miss, 2014, 2015. Only one other team has done that since Saban's been in Tuscaloosa. Do you want to take a wild guess? Because it's not hard to guess the team.
It was LSU in 2011.
That's correct. 2010, 2011, LSU did it with Les Miles.
That oh my God, that terrible national championship game where it was
Yeah,
like
that
9-6.
Yeah, that wasn't good. So, 2 coaches, 2 teams, since Saban got there, did he get there in 2007, I think?
Yes,
So-
2006, 2007, around there.
So since Mr. Saban has been in T-Town, 2 teams have figured out how to beat him and his Tide in back-to-back games. Well, do you like Kirby in this one? Obviously,
I
you
do.
do.
I
But
still
think
do.
history says different, right? History says a little different. Can Kirby be the 3rd coach?
What have you
to do
done for
it?
me lately? I don't care about history.
Okay, you
I
don't.
care about the future.
Okay.
I think this Georgia team can beat Alabama. I really do.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? And also, before we move on, this is one thing I do want to say. This year, Ellie, it'll be offenses and not defenses.
Which is very different from most Georgia-Alabama games. These
Correct.
are usually 2 teams that pride themselves on the defense. There's a reason that last year's Georgia defense basically became the Philadelphia Eagles defense this year, and they're still 10-1.
Yep. That's
Like,
right.
It was the best defense in college football history. Come on.
Yeah, in 2021 and 2022, Georgia's defense played lights out. This year, completely different story. It is Georgia's offense that's
And even
playing
without
lights out.
Brock Bowers, even without their
Lad
main
McConkey.
guy in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, and when you look at Alabama, it's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Alabama. Alabama's even's gotten better, but
Yeah.
it's Alabama's offense that's letting the Tide win. It's going to be interesting. But I am excited, and I do think it's going to be a terrific game. What about you? You think it's going to be a close one?
I think it'll be a very cllose one, but I think Georgia's gonna.
Okay,
gonna-
I'll give
gonna
you
squeak
time
it
to
out.
change your mind.
And I think part of it is it's at Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, really? Well, Georgia did play.
There's gonna be some home cooking there, I think.
See, Alabama's not that far, though. Tuscaloosa's not that far. I will say, though, that Georgia played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I think, what was it, how many times last year? 3 times, or the
3
year
times.
before 3 times? So they play there quite a bit.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a player on this roster other than it would be a true freshman who has not played.
Who has not played yet now.
Yeah, and it is turf, guys. I do think that's worth mentioning. All right, let's move on to the Falcons getting ready for the Jets. This is interesting, right? Mr. Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, he's been cleared to practice, correct?
The 21-day practice period begins today.
It's open. Do you think that means he plays Sunday?
No!
I don't think so, but you never
No.
know. I mean, you never know, right?
No.
You think, okay.
They're trying their best, but no.
So, do we like the Falcons winning over the Jets? The Jets have won 4
would
games.
hope.
One would hope.
Because, man, that pick 6
Yeah.
on Thursday night, no. That you have to beat that team. You have to. Come on. I know you're the Falcons. I know you're 5-6. You have to do this. We said this against Arizona. You have to beat this team. The Jets are so wildly incompetent. It is a miracle they don't have the first overall pick.
Yeah.
I
mean, I'm speechless, right? Like, I'm listening to you. I'm just going to let you take that away because
I just-
you do this way better than me. Incomprehensible.
They're so bad. They've lucked into 3, possibly 4 more wins than they should have.
Mm-hmm.
This team is terrible.
Well, it's going to be a matchup of 2 terrible teams, in my opinion. We'll see who wins that one. But if you were to pick, I'm making you do all the picks today. You're
I
saying
would hope it's the Falcons.
Falcons do it to it.
I would hope.
And this week, from hearing from the team today, the key word, word that they're using throughout the week is consistency. They want consistency. And when it comes to turnovers, they have no consistency. Maybe actually, Ellie, the fact that they have a lot of turnovers every week, it's consistent. That's actually
the wrong type of consistency.
Yeah.
The consistency you don't want.
Yeah, it's a consistency you don't want. But they absolutely want to eliminate turnovers. It's crazy that I think we're in week 13 now of the season.
Yeah.
And we're still talking about this.
We're still talking about
You
this.
know what I'm saying?
How do you
Like,
not
it
fix this?
hasn't gone away.
Arthur Smith, what are you doing?
8 interceptions thrown this season by Desmond Ritter.
And
6
just
fumbles.
thrown.
So 6 plus 8, do the math.
14. Oh my God.
I mean,
you've
I think
had
we
more
did this the other day,
You've had
too.
more turnovers than there are weeks in the season thus far. What are you doing?
I know. So that needs to get cleaned up. But if the Falcons defense shows up like it did this past Sunday against the Saints, I do believe that the Falcons will beat the Jets. But I can't with confidence say that that's going to happen. I truly cannot, because we've seen it all from them.
One would hope.
Correct. One would hope. Moving on to the latest with Aaron Rodgers. We just kind of talked about it. He has 21 days to practice, right? Which I don't really understand fully what that means. That means he might be able to come back the last week of the season, or I
I don't know what that really means either.
The last 2 weeks of the season? Because right now, if you're doing 3 weeks from now, that puts you week 3 in December. So you've still got maybe 3 weeks to play. If you are him, though, are you interested in playing this season?
Of course I'm interested. Of
Are you
course
really?
I'm interested.
I'm not. I'm not interested.
Rodgers he's a competitor. He wants to be out there on the field.
He's like Brock Bowers?
If he's, if he wasn't interested in coming back as soon as this, he wouldn't be pulling off, or at least attempting, the things that he's attempting. He wants to be back out there on the field. He wants to compete. He wants to win. Especially with the Jets quarterback situation, where dude's old, but he's like, I can do better than any of these people.
Yeah, I mean,
He could probably go out there right now and do better than any of them.
I'm torn on that, because I just think that these players are hurting themselves more than they're helping themselves. Unless the Jets are like on the verge of making it to postseason play, I just don't see why you should want to do that. But I get
think
what
it's
you're
a good
saying.
idea? No.
Right.
Do I understand why he's doing it? Yes.
Okay. Even after all these years, he still has things to prove. You got to respect a man who still wants to prove some things. Like you said, true competitor. But I truly,
because I think his when people talk about him, the big knock is, he's only won one Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's eating him.
Yeah. There
Just
could be
winning
something to
the
that.
one
Yeah.
is the thing that is keeping him up at night and forcing him to do these things.
Okay. I like where you're going with that. All right, you mentioned it earlier. We're going to talk a little bit about the conference championship games this weekend. I do think that this slate of games is going to be so much fun.
Oh, this is the best slate of conference championship games in a long time. The four-team college football playoff is going out with a banger.
Yeah, it is, because honestly, anything could happen. Like you said, there could be complete chaos or no chaos
Any
at
of
all.
the top 8 teams in the rankings right now could realistically make the playoff.
Well, and you are absolutely right about that. And you want to know something that I realized today, Ellie, after seeing last night's newest playoff rankings? So the committee still has Oregon ahead of Texas.
Yeah.
So that tells me if Oregon beats Washington, right?
They're in.
Oregon's getting in, and Texas is still staying out.
Yes.
If they win the Big 12.
Yes. And frankly, I think that's
You agree with that, right?
completely fine.
But that's rough, right? If you're
Yes.
a Texas fan, that's a rough pill to swallow.
It's a rough pill to swallow. To win the Big 12, to be a conference champion.
One loss against Alabama, a great team, and you don't
then-
get in. And Oregon's one loss would have been against Washington.
Yes.
Washington has been in the top 4.
But
all
Oregon
year.
would have had the opportunity to avenge that loss. Now, granted, that opportunity isn't afforded Texas because they lost in a non-conference game, but that avenging that loss probably is a plus in the eyes of the committee.
Okay. So, what is your best game, your favorite game? The Michigan one, right? That's the one you wanted to touch on this weekend.
To me,
Michigan and
the
Iowa.
best one is Michigan-Iowa because I want to see Iowa drag Michigan down to their level. I want currently the over-under on Iowa's points in the first half is 0.5. And it's even money. That's how confident people are that Iowa's not going to score in the first half.
Oh. Well, look how serious you're getting. I like
That's
this.
And this team has 10 wins. 10 wins. They average like 17 points a game. The over-under on their games keeps dipping lower and lower. Against Nebraska, it was 24.5, and they beat it. They got the under. What is this team doing in a conference championship game? This team shouldn't even be in a bowl, let alone in a conference championship.
They play some good defense. Really good defense. It's wild. It's wild.
Iowa has the opportunity to do the funniest thing in college football. And I want them to do it. That's why I'm excited for this game in particular.
That's what you
Go
want
do
to
the
see the most?
thing, Hawkeyes.
So that's what you want to see the most. For me, this SEC championship is like creme de la creme, chef's kiss. Alabama and Georgia, I just think that this is just, for me, this is Christmas early. I mean, this is my national championship Saturday. And, so many people in the South probably feel that way. But I really, really look forward to that atmosphere at Mercedes-Benz Stadium is going to be crazy. And it's going to be great. What's on your mind today, Ellie, before we get to some Falcons interviews from earlier today?
So this is the part where I talk about Japanese college football.
Oh, let's do that. I love this.
The equivalent of the sort of Alabama Crimson Tide of Japanese college football shut down their program because completely disbanded it.
Okay.
Because they caught 3 players with marijuana.
Can't do that.
3.
Can't do that.
And this has spiraled into the president resigning, the chancellor resigning, the vice president of the university resigning over 3 guys with weed. Could you imagine if that happened at Alabama? In the 80 years of Japanese college football, this university has won 21 national titles.
And they've
nuked the program
HBO
over
do a special.
3
Let's
drug arrests. So that's what's on my mind, because this is if this happened in American sports, this would be a national story for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
For an entire season.
I mean, James Madison not being able to play in a bowl game this year has caught fire everywhere. I couldn't imagine what you're talking about. Yeah, that. Ellie, you come up with some really great what's on your mind. I mean, you're undefeated when it comes to these things. But do you think it'll get resolved, or do you think it's just going to stay like that?
I mean, they've done it. They've reinstated programs before after completely nuking them.
Okay.
So check back in about 3 or 4 years with this university's football program or lack thereof.
All right, guys, let's head out to Flowery Branch. Falcons earlier today, their thoughts on what's going on ahead of their matchup at the Jets this weekend.
Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback. We know that. And if he plays, he plays. We got to prepare as if we're going with Aaron Rodgers if they open up his window. So we just got to go out there and, good thing is I was over in Green Bay with him for 3 years, so got a little insight.
That's why I asked. You actually know him better than some of these other guys.
No, but Aaron Rodgers, he's a competitor, and if they open up his window, I know he's going to want to play because that's what he is now. So if he could play, he's going to show up on Sunday. Don't mean he is, but if they open up the window, he's a big-time competitor.
you think he would hypothetically go in as like a backup, or do you think if he could play, he would be?
Yeah, he ain't going up as backup.
Okay.
That ain't happening.
That's what I wanted.
Now, he's a competitor, so I am not backing up anyone. That's his mindset. He's a starter, and he knows that. He's a Hall of Famer, future guy. He knows those things. And, you know, when he's on the football field, he's taking control. That's the type of guy he is. So, you know, like I said, if he shows up on Sunday, you're going to get the best Aaron Rodgers.
What can you say about, I mean, none of us were surprised, but Jesse Bates being named the defensive player of the week?
I mean, if you got a chance to watch him in practice, you know, every day and see what he actually does in practice, you know, it wouldn't be a surprise, you know, because he goes out there and he works. He's a professional. He's not only working on the football field. He's in the meetings first. You know, he's sitting right in the front row. He's understanding. He knows what he takes to go out and be a professional. You know, and I know he did a great job bringing him here. You know, getting him from Cincinnati, and now he's hopefully keep getting the young guys to understand, hey, look, this is what a professional looks like. This is what a professional does every day, and then you get the results you're supposed to get. It's not just happen by luck.
Yeah, so would you consider him a leader? Like in that
Oh, yeah. I mean, to me, I think, you know, when he came in the spring, he was kind of finding his way because every guy that comes to a new team, you don't want to come in and say, okay, I'm going to be the leader. You don't lead like that, and I know he wouldn't try to do that. He came in, he worked his tail off, he did what he's supposed to do, and now they see him as a leader. And now he can go in and tell them, hey, let's do this, this, and this. But you're never going to walk in the building and say, I'm the leader. You know, it doesn't happen like that.
Is there anybody from your career in the past who he reminds you of, any player, in terms of whether it's the way he plays, the way he prepares, anything like that?
Well, I mean, like I said, I've been fortunate enough to be around a lot of good safeties, you know, and corners that understand. Like we had Adrian Amos when I was at Green Bay. I thought he had a couple of great years. That we had left Chicago, came to Green Bay. I was fortunate enough to have Harrison Smith. Same way, you know, methodical about what they do. They go in the meeting room. They're always on the practice field. They're always healthy. If they're not healthy, they're getting treatment. I mean, they're professional. And, you know, when I first started coaching, I had Blaine Bishop, same way. So I've been fortunate enough to have some all-pro guys that understand what it takes to be a good football player. And then you eventually become a leader of the team, and then you set the standard. And when the standard's set, then you can kind of go to other guys and say, hey, this is the standard we set. Let's make sure we hold each other accountable.
What we see on our end, Richie and Jesse couldn't be much more different personality-wise. Is that the way it is?
Most of the time. Trust me. I mean, again, if I told you Harrison Smith was the quietest guy you ever want to be around, and then I had Anthony Harris, I had Andrew Sandejo at Minnesota. Blaine Bishop was the fiery guy. And then guess what? I had Marcus Robinson, who's a safety, who's a DB coach at New Orleans. Really, really quiet, just go about his business. And then, you know, you look at these two guys, two guys are opposite, but they generally go out there and play well together. You can't have two guys that are fiery all the time because now one guy's going to cancel out the other guy.
What do you think?
Bless you.
Jesse?
Well, to me, how to study. You know, he sits right next to him, so he's in the front row also. And you could tell he takes notes, he understands. They're always talking about what's going on the film and how do you do this and how do you do that. And he knows that, okay, if I'm going to get to where Jesse is, I have to put in the same amount of time because you're not going to cut a corner and be good. Not in the NFL, they're going to figure you out. So he knows that if I'm going to attach myself to him, some of it's going to rub off, and then I got to eventually be my own guy. But he's kind of teaching him how to watch film because, to me, a lot of young guys don't know how to watch film. They watch TV. They're amused by the players that they watch, and, oh, man, this guy's good. But they forget that his stem did this, and he did this, and he did that off the stem. That's how he caught the ball. You don't just go out there and watch TV. You have to really, really be good at breaking the film down and saying, this is how you study. This is what you do. This is how I be the defensive back. This is how I be the receiver. And then that's when you get good. I mean, God gave you the talent, so the talent's there. What are you doing with your brain? And I think that's what Richie has really taken from Jesse.
Desmond was just talking about guys getting pancaked in last Wednesday's practice, and there was a lot of post-game talk Sunday about how important that practice was for the intensity in the game. But week 12, week 13, how difficult is that to do again? And even though I know Calais Campbell said he challenged teammates to come do it again. But
yeah, I mean, to me, if you're going to be a good team, you have to show up every week. You know, you can't just live on what you did last Sunday. That was over really on Monday. You know, after you got patted on the back and all that, and then you went to sleep and woke up and all your friends text you. After that, it's over. Hey, you got to get ready to get in, get whatever you did good, get it out the way. Whatever you did bad, get it out the way, and get ready for the next opponent. And that's what good teams do. You know, when you see teams win constantly, over and over and over, they're not lucky. They're good at what they do. They know how to put one game behind them and go to the next game. And that's really what we're trying to get our guys to understand. That game is over. You can't be patted on that game again. They're never going to give you 2 wins for beating the Saints. Not unless you beat them in the last game of the season. But that game is only counted 1. You got to get ready to go for the Jets.
But to follow up, you can't really expect to have a training camp level intensity.
Why can't you?
Okay.
If you don't expect it, you're never going to get it, right? So if you start expecting it and the guys start understanding that here's our expectation, here's our standard, you get what you create as a standard. If we let them go back and up and down, it's going to be like a roller coaster. We're trying to get off that ride.
With the window opening up for Rodgers, but obviously still going through the process, could be Tim Boyle at quarterback, and most likely could be. He spent time in Green Bay as well. What can you disclose about Tim Boyle?
Well, I mean, I know he learned a lot from Aaron Rodgers. So when I was there for 2 years, he was kind of like Richie and Jesse. He's at the hip. He understands what's going on. He knows that Aaron Rodgers did a bunch of stuff that's not in the playbook. So, and I know he did a lot of stuff that wasn't in the playbook. So, which is good because now I can take control on the field and I can do the things I need to do that coaches can't all of a sudden call a play and think the player's going to look like that. Great football players always make coaches look good. Trust me, I know that one. And you know, I know Tim knows those things. And I know he just had his first start, you know, last week. And he's going to compete. You know, Aaron Rodgers is going to be in his ear, talking to him, getting him pointers on what we're doing on defense. So he's actually getting coached by a guy who can't play this week, but really, really, really good.
The consistency, right? That's the biggest challenge week to week. You know, to us to take the next step, we have to do that. Being consistent and playing with the same focus and energy that we had going into last week, and because we're going on the road, it'll be a tough environment. It'll be loud. It's a really talented team, and with a lot of speed and a lot of good playmakers in all 3 phases.
Just doing the numbers, looking at it, it looks like you got a good rusher attack there. Numbers look bad, but I know that defense.
Yeah, I think just maybe some of the ways the games have gone, those numbers can get skewed. Depending on people trying to attack you or if people have a lead, right, you get more run heavy. No different than the question you asked me about some of the stuff where they can skew some playing time depending on what situations you're playing in. A lot of 2-minute, right, you'll be a little more pass heavy, and a lot of 4-minute, you should be a little more run. So you pick the ball up sometimes. So it's a really talented front, and they got depth and they rotate it. Mosley and Williams are 2 of the faster inside backers will play. They're aggressive all the way across, so it's a big challenge for us.
I've asked you this before, Heather, when this is an AFC team that you actually, in some form or fashion, seen every year, which is rare. Does that provide anything, or?
Well, I mean, you're a little more familiar. We practice against them. Some of the players they've added, but schematically, you know what they're about. I mean, it's a good challenge. So you're a little more familiar than you are against some other AFC teams. Yeah.
All right, guys, we interrupted Coach Smith from today to say goodbye to you guys. But, I want to say it's a big game for the Falcons coming up because they basically have to keep winning, but it's not going to be a cute game.
No.
It's not. I want to know the ratings on this one is all I'm saying. At the end of the day. Atlanta and New York will be it. That's basically it. But thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. Ellie Parker, Emily Gagnon, Ellie bringing us the most interesting information about Japanese football. I had no idea, so I hope you learned something today because I certainly did. Have a good night, guys.